welcome back to D-Loney V8 Motorsports. We got a brand new project. This thing will get its own playlist. What you see here is a bunch of engine parts and some clutch stuff for a 1968 Chevrolet El Camino SS396 4-speed.
That's right.
This is Art Burnett's El Camino. There's a whole story behind this thing. We're going to insert some old photos and things. The car is not here, so we will follow up with the car when it gets here. But tell us, what's the deal and what do we got? What are we looking at, George?
So you want to just start from the beginning, or do you want to just talk about the engine, Dave?
Well, I mean, the engine's here and it looks pretty good, but start from the beginning. What's the story on this? What's the history?
So this particular 68 El Camino, it's a pretty dang cool story. My dad bought this car from a buddy of his back in the early 90s. It actually came from a wrecking yard called Bradbury Auto Wrecking, and I actually tried to look the place up, and it looks like they were in the Salem Brooks area. But anyways, the car sat since 1988, and it did live a rough life for the first 20 years. It had a couple paint jobs and had a lot of filler in the quarter panels. But it's virtually a rust-free car. There's just a couple little spots like in the lower quarters behind the tire, and I think there's a little spot in the back window, which is totally typical for an El Camino. But floor pans are cherry. Everything's really nice in it. So anyways, my dad bought this El Camino off of a buddy of his for, next to nothing back then.
Yeah.
And it was a running, driving car. 396 4-speed, not numbers matching. He just stored it for a while. We got it running and it ran bad. It ended up having a bent valve. But he stored it for a while. Ended up putting a 307 in it with a Saginaw and drove it for maybe 6 months, and then parked it again and decided he was going to do a full restoration on it. Well, my uncle Tom, rest in peace, he actually ended up he wanted the El Camino, so my dad sold it to my uncle Tom, and we were going to do a full pro touring build on the car. He wanted to do like a fuel injected 502 with a 6-speed and slam it with 17 to 18s, whatever, and do a full-on build with it. And he ended up bailing on the project. And then after my dad passed away, Art showed interest in the car and thought it would be pretty special to have the El Camino, especially since Art and I, when we used to work together, my dad actually worked with us, and that was at the time that he was driving it. So Art remembers the car from when my dad drove it to work back when we both worked at McDougal. So kind of a full circle thing. Art remembered the car and was like, I'd like to have that car. So him and my uncle struck a deal. Art bought it, and it actually did come with a 396 that my dad acquired. That was 196 numbers off of the VIN. So it's a Chevelle El Camino short block, really close to the VIN, and we considered actually putting that engine in the car. And Art and I chatted several times over the last 10 years from when he bought it. And I was like, what do you want to do with the car? He goes, I want it to run good. I want to be able to drive it to the coast, but I also want to be able to take it to the drag strip, and I want it to run a good number. I said, well, I can build you the 396, or we can build a 454. It's totally up to you, your call. Our buddy Brett Davis ended up buying a 454 at it was like an estate sale thing that Dave turned us on to. Dave, Brett, and Art, and Brian and I, we all went to this estate sale, and Brett ended up buying a 454 for $200, and he brought it over. We put it on my run stand, and we got it running, and the thing ran perfect. I mean, you could have just put it in, your regular old Chevy pickup, and it would have ran perfectly fine. But
it was actually an engine and turbo 400 out of an RV.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Complete
for $200.
Running.
Yeah. So Brett ended up actually parting with it, sold the engine to Art. So now this is that $200 454. And it's come a long way since then. It's definitely not the same motorhome engine that it used to be. I'll just give a quick rundown a little bit on the engine itself and the components that we're using to build this thing. It is a factory 2-bolt block, which is more than sufficient for the horsepower level that we're running. It is the factory cast crank that's been turned 1010 and shot peened. And it has scat rods in it, full floating pins with Molly pistons. That's going to put us right around 10, 10.25 compression. It still has the factory 781 heads that Rob Louthan did, stainless 219 intake valves with ported intake and exhaust. It has a Chris Straub designed hydraulic roller in it that I've used in a previous engine and really, really like the quality of it. It actually is the camshaft's tailored to this specific cylinder head and a few others, but this cylinder head as well. So it's going to make a really, really good combo. It's got a Performer RPM air gap with a Holley 850. I think it's an HP. I don't remember which one it is. Bought it a little while ago.
And it's going to be...
Yes, it is a stick car still. We are. That was one thing that Art was adamant about. It did not. He did not want it to be an automatic. So it's getting a. I contacted Craig Wright at Wright Connection in Bakersfield and talked to him about a combination for the transmission, the clutch, the flywheel, all that stuff. So he's hooked me up. We haven't bought the transmission yet, but we do have the clutch and flywheel, and it's a twin disc 10.5-inch clutch, and it's getting it'll get a scatter shield, of course, and it's going to get a Muncie style N24, not an M24, an N24. It's a really, really nice piece. He said it's repeatable. You can beat the crap out of it all day long, and it'll do everything you want it to do. We considered going to a 5-speed, and he talked us back into the 4-speed, which I'm happy about. It's a whole aftermarket deal. There's not a Muncie part in it. And then of course it'll get a Hurst shifter blueprinted by Craig for the car. But it's going to be pretty fun. I'm pretty sure that it'll be a tire blazing car for sure. So
drag strip on a good run, 11-second car.
I'd say probably a low 11.
Yeah,
I would think. Yeah.
Nice.
It's gonna run pretty good, I think. So
yeah. Right on. Well, we're gonna plug some pictures in. You've probably already seen a few of them. And we're going to be back at some point with probably a run stand video.
Yeah, it's. I'm just waiting to order a few parts. I got to get the heads on it and then measure for my push rod length, and I'll get this thing buttoned up. And I think he's going to really like this one. My hope is once I get this running, it'll strike the motivation a little bit, and we can get going. And because I want to get this thing running and get it to where I could drive it.
He's partway over the cliff. We need to send him all the way over the cliff.
Yeah, we need to do some other stuff to the drivetrain or the rear end and stuff. It's got 373s in it, but it doesn't have a posi, and I'm considering cutting the ends off the 12 bolt and putting Ford ends so we can get rid of the C clips.
Yeah.
And going 33 spline, just because I feel like it's going to need it. On the track, and then just need to go through the brakes and the fuel system and that type of thing. But it's going to be a pretty cool car. I think the plan is just to primer the car for now, because as you guys know, this is expensive stuff to do. So we're just going to build it in stages. And,
get it running, get it driving.
Yeah. Don't get it right, just get it running.
Yep. I like that new philosophy.
But it'll be cool. I'm glad to see him stepping up and getting on this project. I've been bugging him for years, so.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, Art's a good buddy. He's always down here. He's always at the drag. He's always supporting us. It'll be great to see him out there with his own car.
For sure.
So. All right, George. Well, we'll be back. Thanks for this. And subscribe, hit the bell, share with your friends. Hit us in the comments. Do you like these cylinder heads? Are you bothered by the paint on the valve springs? Tell us. Tell us we're doing it wrong. Yeah. All right, man. See ya.